So, we've been getting bored a lot easier these days. And I say we because I've noticed this in my life, and it's been recurring quite often, and I've noticed it in, let's say, peers, friends' lives as well. People get a lot more bored a lot more easily than we normally do. And you'll find that in all sorts of aspects in your life when you really start to think about it and think about why. Where does this come from? Well, I'd like to start off by asking you, what do we all do when we feel bored? What is it that we do? And really think about it for a second. Try to put yourselves in the shoes of what it is what do you seek? What is it that's like kind of pulling you in all sorts of directions when you're bored? And I think most people, right, would agree that, well, this looks, yeah, most people would agree that boredom would kind of start to pull you in many different directions, and it would usually pull you towards stimulus. What you really want when you're trying to eliminate boredom is to feel something again. You're seeking stimulation. But what is this? What feeling are you really chasing, and how are you chasing these stimulations? What is true boredom? Well, boredom is when the soul can no longer find a reason to love the rest of the world. It's when the soul cannot find a way to love the world. You're lacking these kind of attachment points. You no longer have it. And when you no longer have these attachment points, well, these arrows, they don't go outwards into the world here. They don't connect. They kind of go back in here. That's what happens. They kind of just go back and reconnect, all into this endless loop of stimulation you have going on right here. So this is what happens. You kind of get this, and this outer circle would be the world, for example. And now you'll notice that I reference love a lot in my videos, and that's because it's quite important, and I think you should be trying to manifest it in your life as much as possible, because that's when pure action starts to coexist with what you're already doing. And as mentioned before, boredom isn't really a lack of anything, right? When you're bored, you're not truly that thing that you're seeking, that stimulus. It's just one of many stimulus that you could distract yourself with, but it's not what's really going to solve it, is it? All these forms of entertainment activities, you'll try them out, but it won't really scratch the itch, if you know what I mean. And boredom is specifically a loss of love and meaning, and because love gives your life meaning. So it's like let's say we got boredom right here, then we're gonna have love and meaning right here. Alright, so we're gonna have them around the same level right here. Now, when you're bored, you lack love for something. And when you love something, when you don't love anything, you lack meaning in your life. So your life becomes, let's add another arrow that goes like this, and we'll put the text up here at the top, and your life will become gray and boring. It's kind of like a self-fulfilling boredom. means that you lose touch with your love, and love means that you lose touch with your meaning of your life. You don't have Without love, you have no meaning, and without meaning, your life is boring and gray. And I guess this phenomenon right here that we experience is, I would say, well, do you guys think that animals experience this this could almost be a chain like this, and we could delete this. Do you think animals, this is a purely human experience? This isn't something that we share with the animal kingdom. I don't think, at least. And why do you guys think that is? Well, humans are truly free individuals. We have this I am to us, this independence, and that's where the boredom is coming from. So the boredom actually comes from the source of I am, or slash independence. Right. So this is where it streams from. It kind of goes down. And if we're not able to channel this independence correctly, this I am, it will result in boredom. And boredom will reciprocate kind of the chain that we've discussed right below. And the way that we lead ourselves through lives using this independence is by creating conceptions about things. So when we make a conception about something, for example, we'll use it and we'll move on with our lives, and we'll kind of we'll progress, and those conceptions from the past come in to steer us back into our old ways. So even when you're trying to move on, you'll have past conceptions that kind of haunt you, and interfere with what you want to do, like what you want to do or think in that certain moment. The fewer conceptions that someone has, the less, I guess, these pre-made ideas that aren't always true, you have to remember, the less likely they are to be bored, because they're not really the thinking type, they're the doing type. And when you're doing, you're a lot more likely, let's type this out, doing, you're a lot less likely to experience, you're less bored when you're doing. And this is, well, it's why a lot of those kind of less thinking types, they seem to be almost like they are sometimes doing better in life, even when that's not really the case. They just do more and think a little bit less, but they're less bored, because when you're constantly doing, and let's say you make mistakes, you're making original mistakes, that then those mistakes affect your I am and independence, which then changes the way that you do stuff the next time if you're doing it correctly. So this kind of chain actually works in your favor in the end. And that's why sometimes they seem a little bit more ahead than the purely thinking types. The people that overthink and never end up doing kind of stay in this area here without ever making their own mistakes. And without doing that, you do not progress / individuate. I'm sure you've heard this term. Sorry, I'm a little sick. developing focus is key, because the thing is you don't want to be someone that makes no conceptions. So you don't want to be someone that does zero thinking, because then you need to be thinking and doing the right thing. But you can't be thinking too much and then never doing anything, but you also can't be thinking too little. You need to find a good balance in between those. And then you're going to be doing, and then making your mistakes from that doing. But those mistakes are going to be your original mistakes, and they'll be well thought out. So even if you mess something up, you shouldn't worry about it too much, because the kind of experience, this section right here, is going to be very good for you. And it's going to help you so much more than making a mistake that's not your own. Which is why I kind of encourage you guys to do your own thinking throughout watching videos, or even while you watch my stuff. Now, the way that we, I guess, experience the world is through, and I mentioned this in a previous video, thinking things. You think things, right? You feel things, and you will things into existence. So these are kind of your three mechanisms that you use, and they go, hand in hand. So this will affect this, this will affect this, this will affect this, but also this. Oh, hold on. There we go. This will affect this. This will affect this, and you guys get the point, and it's just like a never-ending chain of connections, you could call it. This will also affect this, and it's just like there are webs spinning in between them. But the problem is oh man, when thinking becomes dull, and feeling as well, that'll affect each of these. I don't like this arrow right here. Let's just put it there. Let's delete this one. When thinking, let's say, becomes abstract, and feeling is a little bit more dull, willing is mechanical, like we talked about in those previous videos, the world tends to lose meaning, because we experience the world through, this is kind of like our form of experience. This is how we experience the world. There we go. So it's how we experience the world, right? It's through thinking, feeling, willing. And we could kind of remove these right here. When these three become dull, the world around us loses its meaning, because the things we think about around the world become dull and abstract. The feelings are dull, the willing is mechanical. Now, when these things are all being, these senses, they're all being turned down by the external world. Everything everything used to be sharpened. The external world used to sharpen thinking, feeling, and willing. But now with social media and all of these other add-ons to life, it's really what it's doing is it's dulling each and every single one. And when you dull them, you experience this life less. And what I would recommend is we try to use these three more. And I have a video on that where I go in depth about what you could do, but mostly just trying to implement yourself onto the world. You know, it's going to be different for everyone. Some basic stuff you could look into are trying to express yourself. So who you are. Some people are more artistic. That's the way they express themselves onto the world. Some people are a little less artistic, maybe more leaning into like a football player, soccer player, or let's say basketball, or it could be any sport, it could be any activity, it could be bird watching, but that needs to be your way of stapling yourself onto the world. And it doesn't have to be anything I just said, it needs to be something that you do and you implement thinking, feeling, and willing through that way. And you kind of build that connection back with the world. Now, the relationship between, let's say, our subconscious. I don't know how I'm gonna exactly draw. Let's try. Nice big circle like this, and we're gonna try to. Oh, actually, you know what? Let's get rid of this one right here. Delete this. We're just gonna put this one, and we're gonna make this one kind of just cut in half like this. So this top half right here is gonna be our conscious half. This will be, as we all know, subconscious right here. Alright. Now, these two play a big role in, well, for example, being bored. If one of these sides is imbalanced, if you have a little bit more in this direction, for example, if you have a lot of stuff unpackaged, that's not been unpackaged in your subconscious, it's going to be draining energy from the conscious, and it's going to be slowly kind of taking up more of that circle, which is why Jung specifically stresses bringing the subconscious right here out into the conscious, and this, by doing this process, you naturally even it back out into the center, because it's not constantly being I guess like stacking up over time, because you're naturally accumulating as you go through life more and more in the subconscious, and it overall becomes a balance. It drains a lot of your energy, and over time, like we said before, it will just slowly take over. Let's say this right here will all be your energy right here. So this ball is like energy that you have, and most of it will be consumed, as we could see right here. And I guess if we were to put it in simple terms, either side is bad. It's not really just the conscious being taken advantage of by the subconscious, but it could go both ways, and it could go this way, and it could go this way. Now, when you have kind of a shrinkage, let's say, of energy, when you have less of it, becomes smaller, life becomes more dull. And when you lose this energy, you don't have enough to spend, so you're constantly tired because you have an imbalance here, let's say, and this is taking up too much. Less is going into your conscious. You have a lot less up here and a lot more down here. Your life is going to start to feel dull, and you're going to get that feeling of boredom. And what you want to do is you want to try to unravel what you have down here in the subconscious. And by unravel, I don't mean to force it out. Forcing it out never really works with addictions, does it? It kind of just pushes them back, you say, and pushing something back is like, let's see, right here, we have like a band like this, and then I guess we'll have arrow going like this. Now, pushing something back, the subconscious, is like this. Eventually, it's just gonna, these points aren't moving, right? So it's just gonna snap back, and it's gonna push this arrow way back to where it started. And you're gonna keep doing that, and you're gonna keep hitting this wall right here. This wall's gonna reset because it's, nice and elastic, and it's not gonna really move. It's not gonna really do anything. So what you need to do is get to the core of the problem. The core of the problem is up here and down here, and you need to get to that part, because who you really are is beyond this. It's right here. It's past this wall, and you're not going to get past this wall if you keep trying to go this. You need to just take care of these two, and they'll guide you themselves to who you really are. Because realistically, you can't get rid of this. You can't push it to the side. You can't do anything about it. It's just part of you. All you could really do is learn how to work with it. And once you learn how to work with it, it'll guide you, and it'll show you. And sometimes that answer is going to be scary, but maybe it's what you need to see. Because who you really are is trapped behind multiple layers of stimuli or stimulus that's kind of pulling you in all sorts of directions, right? Just like these are all stimulus that's external stuff that's pulling you, and it's just blinding everything, all of these arrows like going this way, and we'll do another one just for fun. And it's just, you can't really get to the bottom of who you are, because there's so many things. There's porn addiction, there's sweets, you don't really like, you eat too much sugar, you like caffeine, you like alcohol, you like drugs. It's all, once you get rid of all these urges, that's when you find out who you really are. And that's when you stop being bored, because all of this, none of this arrow is not going to lead you to satisfaction, right? This arrow is not going to lead you to satisfaction. Anything that will eliminate your boredom is down here. It's hidden behind all this, and until you unravel yourself, you start to unravel who you really are, you won't be able to truly free yourself of this eternal boredom, because it feels eternal. It feels like this is just what life is. And a lot of people become complacent about it. And the best part is that all these lines end up going away. They end up fading. They might still be there. You might still wake up and have urges, but every time you defeat an urge, it becomes lower and lower, and the arrow becomes smaller each time. Now, the problem with this is many people can't see the arrows. If you're not honest with yourself, you won't be able to see what's actually stopping you from seeing who you really are. People who lie to themselves because it's a mechanic people use to protect themselves from getting hurt. The problem is you need to confront all of these like unraveling is really just a confrontation with who you really are and what stimulus is pulling you away from who you really are. And when you get down, you start from, for example, this arrow, we'll take this arrow for example right here. You start from up here, here's a stimulus, you start to investigate the stimulus. And as you go down, you start to notice, oh, I've been doing this because of this that happened in my childhood, for example, and you start to learn more about it and why you felt that way. And you go deeper and deeper, and it leads to, let's say, a chunk of who you really are. And that's how you learn about yourself, and that's how you do a little bit more exploration. You need time for yourself there. You need time to sit with yourself and be honest with yourself. And that's why journaling is such a great thing, because you could look back and see, what was I being, what kind of person was I being 2, 3, 4, 5 years ago. But if you weren't honest while journaling, it doesn't really have the same, you could say, meaning or impact behind it, because it's really just a facade for who you were at that time, for who you wanted to be maybe, but weren't actually. And it's a lot more difficult to learn that way. So, like we were talking about, if you're dealing with these kind of boredom problems, I urge you to seek out where your connection to nature is, how you're dealing with that, and where your energy is going, and kind of asking yourself what's pulling you away from who you really are. Because boredom at its core is the absence of a relationship with life. And once you find something that gives you meaning, that gives you love, you must nurture that feeling and keep it within you. And I hope that if you do that after doing all this, you'll truly understand how important it is, and why you should be nurturing that love that you have. Those small moments, you should feel like you need to protect those small moments in your life, those morning walks, because those are the truly beautiful moments that sometimes give you meaning. So when you find yourself something to love again, you will also by proxy feel alive, and the boredom will fade away because you're doing something you love. And what is being alive besides experiencing this wonderful world around us? Thank you guys.